Hey everybody, this is FXR. Gonna upload a short video here. This will probably be much shorter than my other ones because I don't have too much to report on. But I wanted to give you an update on the bike this week. Just kind of let you know what I've been doing. So, really not much has changed since the last video. The one thing I did replace, and as usual, I didn't record it. I apologize in advance. I'll talk a little bit about it. Is I did replace the ignition, the stock ignition, with a unit. I forget the brand. It's, oh man, American something or other. Well, anyway, it's the same unit that Daytona Twin Tech sells and Zipper sells it. They're all the same thing, made in the same place. But this one I got on Dennis Kirk. They're on clearance right now for like $180. So I replaced the ignition and put a single fire coil on, replace the spark plug wires. So talk a little bit about that. I can't show you, I have the cover on right now, but I removed the OEM ignition system, which is all of this stuff. So the original dual fire coil, the ignition box, the original pickup, which as you know from prior videos was starting to get eaten through, or began to be eaten through from the old cam because it went through that bushing. Unfortunately, the original coil cover does not fit on the replacement coil, so all that came off. I'm going to obviously keep it around, so it's with the bike if I ever sell the bike or anything like that. But I did install the new one in the new coil. I'll have to look for a way to kind of beautify that a little bit because that coil cover doesn't fit. It kind of, I mean, it doesn't look horrible, but it looks a little odd. So I might try to find something to go on it. I also purchased some MSD high performance plug wires. These are actually copper core plug wires. So for anyone looking to do one of those ignition installs, there's a lot of confusing stuff out there online. I saw a lot of videos on YouTube and read a lot of things online from old timers that said they're a waste of money and that you should just put points in, if anything, because it's reliable and blah blah blah. I will tell you that was a massive upgrade on this bike. A problem I had before I did it was this exhaust created a lot of decel pop because it obviously lets a lot of air back up into the pipe. So the decel pop was kind of crazy on it, and that doesn't really scare me. But you know, it's a little annoying. And I was getting burping through the carburetor pretty frequently too. And the mixture was decent. Like, the plugs were not looking super dark. It's not like it was running incredibly rich or anything like that. But once I installed that ignition, the decel pop is gone. The burping, it has not burped through the carburetor once since I put this ignition in. There was a noticeable power increase, very noticeable power increase. Obviously, I was able to raise my rev limiter up. I actually don't know if I had a rev limiter before, but now I have it at 57, I think. Definitely an awesome upgrade. I'm really glad I did that. It runs much smoother. So yeah, definitely something. If it's an electronic ignition and they're iffy on the reliability, I know they can get hot because of where they are, and it ends up having issues someday, well, then I'll just replace it. No big deal. For anyone looking to do one of those, the install is actually really easy. Once you take out the old ignition, which is actually probably the hardest part of this, you literally just run the wires. I ran it the same direction. It kind of goes along the bottom of the frame. It comes up here. It goes behind the oil tank, but in front of the battery, around to the opposite side, and then it goes up this backbone, but on the other side of the bike. And then everything just drops right down where the coil is. And it's literally one white wire that hooks up to the power that's already there, a blue and red for each side of the coil. There's a brown that goes to the, what was it? The tachometer, which you disconnect the tachometer from the coil and you plug it into the brown wire. And then there's one that goes to the Vose unit. So super easy. I mean, the install took no time. Probably the hardest part about it was removing the old ignition and just running the wires, like making the wires look pretty. So static timed it, things started right up. It's incredible. Definitely an awesome upgrade. So also my oil leaks, I still have this here. My oil leaks have like stopped. I get that's an awesome thing. It's a good thing. I mean, there's some oil left on this from where it was leaking before, but as far as the real bad leaks that I was having from this area before, it was actually puddling and dripping on the ground, they've sort of like stopped on their own. It's a little bizarre. I still have the oil leak from the broken gasket or the broken washers, sealed washers that go around it, and I have those on order. I'm replacing all of those. In fact, in the next video, I'll be replacing those as well as the front motor mount. But all that goofy leaking that I had in here, I mean, it's still a little damp, but for the most part, it's stopped. So it's bizarre. If anyone knows why that happens, comment. But I imagine maybe some of these gaskets, these new gaskets, were seeping a little bit. And now that I've been using the bike and they've kind of baked on and stuff, maybe they sealed it better. I'm not sure. But that's cool. I'll take that any day of the week. Less leaks. So yeah, next video, and this I promise I'm really going to try to record this stuff in the next video, but I'm going to have to drop the front motor mount off of this so I can lower the engine, and then I'm going to replace all of the gaskets on all these bolts, all 8 of them, and then I have a new motor mount I'm going to install, a new rubber mount. I think this one's kind of old and bad, so I ordered a Drag Specialties. They have a polyurethane one that's pretty inexpensive, like 25 bucks, so I'm gonna replace that. Originally I was gonna get one of the nice ones, like from Alloy Art, and they look really cool, but they're very, very hard urethane, and a lot of people complain that it created even more vibration. So I'm just gonna go with a stock type one for now. So I will try to get that all actually filmed when I get those parts in. Another thing that I'm going to do, so in the last video I talked about replacing the oil lines, and I still want to do that. I still do think they're seeping a little bit right from the fittings, and I talked about my desire to do hard lines. I kind of scratched that idea already. I started looking at how many bends there are and how tight the spaces are. I just realized that would be so much work, and as nice as that would be, it will be really difficult to do. So what I did order is I ordered a kit, some AN6 oil lines and fittings. So what I'm going to do is replace these with rubber lines again, but they're going to have the AN fittings where they actually screw on instead of just hose clamps. So I'll be replacing all of the fittings like on the oil pump and everything with those AN style, and then I'll be able to route those cables really nicely. Another reason why I kind of chose not to do the hard lines is because when it comes to the oil tank, there are no fittings on the oil tank. There's actually just nipples on 3 of them on the oil tank. So you can really only use a rubber hose that slips over, unless someone were to get crazy and cut them off and like weld in some fittings or something, some bungs, which obviously I'm not going to do that. So with the AN6 oil lines, you can get these really nice looking fittings that go over the end of them, and they still clamp on, but they look like the AN6 fittings, and the rubber hose obviously will just go over those. So that's how I'm going to do it. That'll probably be kind of a job, because it's not like there's a ton of oil lines or anything, but everything is just so very cramped. 2 of them run down under the engine, 1 of them runs directly to the tank, 1 of them runs around to the fuel filter or to the oil filter, and another one runs from the oil filter up to the tank, and then there's one that is just a breather to the oil tank, and it's kind of confusing. So I'll probably have to take my time with that, but I think it's going to turn out really, really nice. So my next oil change, which is coming up here, I got about 300 miles on this build already, so I'll be looking to drain the oil, and that will be a perfect time for me to replace the oil lines, and I think that'll tidy things up a lot. So another small thing I did is I rebuilt the master cylinder, the front master cylinder. The guy I got it from did that, he says. And I mean, I no doubt that he thinks he did, but it has been seeping brake fluid all around this area for a while now. So I finally bought the kit to redo it, and I pulled everything out, and he had one of the seals or the plunger or something installed backwards, which actually explains a lot, because I had an issue before where I could barely push the brake handle in, like it was engaging the brake like right here. So my hand was always out full like this, and actually it was making it difficult for the brake light to turn on as well, because there was so little movement. Well, now that it's replaced, or that it's rebuilt, I actually have full normal movement in this front master cylinder. So he definitely did something wrong, as whoever worked on this did do with pretty much everything I've touched at this point. Let's see what else. So, the fuel gauge. In the last video I said I was going to print the plastic pieces and try to rebuild this gauge, and I have decided against that. It's not that that's not ultimately what I would like to do. The problem is, I started working on the gauge. Let's see. I started putting it back together. I didn't print this lens. I decided to just use this one again. But as I started putting it back together, which is really difficult because you got to try to crimp this metal down, which is like next to impossible. It looks horrible. All the other plastic on the back of this started to break, and so the back light doesn't stain anymore, and it's just so, this is so, what's the word, brittle, from being old and from having gas fumes get into it. It's just impossible. So unfortunately, that was a lost cause. So I did order the Intellitronics LED fuel gauge, kind of like the one that FXR Division sells. I didn't buy from FXR Division. Sorry, FXR Division, I could find it much cheaper somewhere else than I did. Actually got it on eBay. So I will have that fuel gauge coming sometime early next week, and I'll install that. So I already have my front motor mount here and ready to go. So got a couple other little things I'll be working on soon, and like I said, I'm really going to try hard to set up the camera and actually record me doing some work on the bike. So, but I have been riding it. Oh, another thing I did is I took a buffer and some swirl remover to the tank and the fenders and did some buffing, and as you can see, it really brought life back into the paint. It removed so many imperfections, so many scratches, and I didn't even spend a lot of time doing it. It was maybe 30 minutes at the most. So paint looks much better than it did before. It's just shining. Fortunately, I do have a little dent in the tank that was there when I got it. I bought a dent pulling kit, like a paintless dent pulling kit off of Amazon, and it's a nice kit, but I wasn't able to get this dent out with it, and I think it's because it's creased, and you know, it's like impossible to show on the camera, but it is creased a little bit. So not a big deal. It's not that noticeable, and it's an old bike, so I don't really care. Yeah, that's about it. So next video, top gaskets, motor mount, and that'll probably be all I'll be able to fit in that one. And then somewhere down the line, I'll also do the replacement oil lines and kind of show that as well. I also noticed that this back brake line seems to be seeping or leaking a little bit as well. This is obviously replacement, so I will probably replace this back brake line soon too. It's too long. It's actually coiled up underneath the bike, so they ordered one that was too long anyway. This has the AN fittings on it already. I don't know if it's AN3 or AN4, I forget. So that's good. That means all I got to do to replace the brake line is just unscrew it from here, unscrew it from the master cylinder, and then pop the new one on. So that'll be super easy. Only other thing I'm trying to do quickly, and I'm having a hard time finding one, I want to replace the front wheel with a 9-spoke mag. I actually have a 9-spoke mag on the back. I have a feeling it came with a 9-spoke mag on the front, but it looks like someone replaced it with this spoke rim, and I'm pretty sure this is a 21-inch. I'm trying to see. It doesn't have any sizes on it. Well, it looks like a 21-inch. As of about a year ago, when I started getting into Harleys and had my Sportster, I was finding 9-spoke mags, front and backs, all the time on Facebook Marketplace. In fact, I picked one up for my Sportster and I paid $60 for it, and it was like in perfect shape. They were all over the place for really not a lot of money. Yeah, 21. I cannot find a 9-spoke front mag for this thing to save my life. I mean, there's the occasional one on Marketplace, and the people are asking $300 for a single wheel, which for a 9-spoke's just crazy. Like, that's just too much money. They're not worth that much. At least they're not worth that much to me. So, if anyone's out there in the Tampa area that has a 9-spoke front mag, you're welcome to sell it to me, or I could trade you this 21-inch for it. Yeah, let me know. Otherwise, the search continues. Oh, and the reason why I want to do that is because this front tire is dry rotted and it's starting to crack, so I need to replace that soon. I don't want to be driving it around when it's dangerous. So anyway, that's the update. Thank you for coming back. Sorry this video is short and there's not a lot to talk about. I just wanted to get something out there because I didn't have anything recorded for this week, and I want to try to stay as regular as I can. So thank you for watching. Please like the video, subscribe, comment. I love when you guys comment. Love talking to you on there, so feel free to chat with me in the comments. And please share my videos if you can with someone you know who might be interested. Have a good one.